AI is the most disruptive technology that we've seen in our careers, and it's heralding a whole new future for talent acquisition. Most of the discussion in the industry around AI is about use cases and what the future might look like. But it's really important that we understand how the technology works. What are the implications for the way we design software? What about the way we interface with recruiting systems? What are the legal issues? How do we adapt our processes to really make AI work and get its true value? And also, how do we educate and move our teams forward to really adopt this new technology in a way that really works? The most important thing to me in all of this is transparency. SmartRecruiters recently launched Winston, a recruiting platform that's been built AI first from the bottom up. And I'm delighted that they agree transparency is just as important to them as it is to me. In this series of 4 interviews, we're going to be talking to the people who built Winston and continue to evolve it. So as you as talent acquisition professionals can learn the lessons that they've learned to superpower your AI transformation. Hi, Dave. It's a pleasure to be talking to you. Could you introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about your role at SmartRecruiters?
Yeah. Hi, Matt. Sure thing. Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here. So my name is Dave Novak. I am the Director of Managed Services here at SmartRecruiters. And so what that means is I've got a team of people that work with our customers to make sure that they realize the highest potential of their SmartRecruiters investment. So that takes many different shapes and forms. It could be career site related. It could be reporting and analytics. It could be functional. It could be technical. But we work with all of our customers and just make sure that they're seeing the highest return on the investment that they've made with SmartRecruiters.
Tell us a little bit about your background. What did you do before you did this?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a career recruiter and recruiting leader. I've been in recruiting for actually now over 20 years. And so I've been practicing in hospitality, e-commerce, consumer goods. About 5 years ago, so I managed some pretty complex implementations, HR tech implementations from the customer side. And I thought to myself, I really like this. I really like the problem solving. I like the idea of leveraging technology to make yourself more effective with hiring. So that's why I decided to join SmartRecruiters.
Fantastic. So everyone is talking about AI seemingly all the time, so much going on. What are you hearing from the market? What's the TA leadership perspective on this? Is there a gap between expectations and reality? What's kind of coming out of your customers?
Yes. So having spent some time in HR tech implementation, I'm very well versed in the gap between expectations and reality. And there certainly is a lot of chatter out there in the social media sphere and, at talent acquisition conferences and such, and obviously for good reason. This has an opportunity to be absolutely transformative, not only in hiring, but in like all aspects of work and of daily life. So I think that the buzz is real, and I think there is a huge opportunity to transform the quality of our lives and the effectiveness of how we do our jobs. But the reality, I have no doubt, is going to be a little bit more tempered and probably a little bit more slow moving. So you've got, I'm hearing from customers and from people in my network in the talent acquisition space, a wide range of different sort of outcomes that they're expecting to get. On one hand, you have the pie in the sky. Hey, we're gonna connect this. We're gonna press a few buttons. We're gonna totally upend our entire recruiting department. We might not need recruiters anymore. We might not need human beings anymore. The AI might actually clean our desks off for us at the end of the day as well. And on the other end of the spectrum, you have people who have gone through technology implementations before, and they've been maybe burned by transformative technology implementations before. And they're thinking, okay, this has the potential to be really big and really impactful, but how are we going to manage this in a way that provides some impact and results, but doesn't set the bar too high and expectations too high, and then underdeliver. So there's super pragmatic people who are practical and saying, we've been saying this in HR tech for 30 years. And then there's people that are going, this is it. This is the big one. Everybody get ready, strap on. start looking for a new job because there's no more recruiting. It's it's all going to be robots hiring from this point moving forward. So
And so cutting through the hype and the talk and the spin and the arguments that are going on and all
yeah.
that sort of stuff. What do you feel this really enables from a business perspective? And how is it going to evolve the role of recruiting, of talent acquisition?
I'm super excited about it. I have to be honest. I am by nature a little bit cautious and fairly pragmatic. And again, working closely in technology implementations, you kind of become that way. Um, but I am really excited about the potential here. Having worked as a recruiting practitioner for so many years, the holy grail of the talent acquisition or the talent role in general has been this: we need to be a strategic advisor. We need to be somebody who offers real business solutions. But we've been hamstrung for 25 years because by nature, we've been kind of forced into this role of managing a process. And oftentimes the process is very administrative in nature. And so the promise of AI is, all these things that we have to do in talent acquisition. And this is not new news to anybody, but you clock in for the day, you've got to stare at 200 resumes to make sure you catch the one diamond in the rough, right? Then you've got to figure out which job advertisements are actually providing some traction, and then you got to figure out where your job is posted. And then you've got to sort through resumes, and you got to figure out how you're going to schedule a phone screen and who are you going to share with the hiring team. And then once you do that, how are you going to, upload your notes and, share your feedback with the hiring team? Then how are you going to schedule interviews? This is the dreadful, 7-step, 14-person interview scheduling. Then once they get through that, you're gonna figure out, we got to put them through an assessment. Then we got to make an offer. We got to go through compensation. All these things that you have to do. It's a lot of blocking and tackling, right? Yeah. What I've always worked with our recruiters on, with recruiters on my team on, is becoming a true talent advisor. We know the job market. We know the talent. We know our internal, like the way our organization is structured and where we have strengths and where we have weaknesses. We're trying to find people that are going to add value to our organization. And that is by nature a consultative task, what you're trying to do as a really effective talent acquisition person. So if AI fulfills even a little bit of the promise that it has right now, it's going to bring us a lot closer towards that goal, sort of that holy grail of strategic talent advisor, and less away, more away from managing a process and more into helping advise our business on how to match talent with business goals.
Absolutely, and I think it's quite a common vision that I hear from from recruiters, from TA leaders, from employers, and it's fairly clear that we can see that AI could really help us get there. How far is there to go? I mean, how far away are we from realizing that kind of vision? Are you seeing anyone who's there yet? And for the people who aren't, what's the roadmap to get there?
Yeah, yeah. So there are certainly organizations that do this really, really well, and there are pockets within organizations, within hiring organizations that do this really, really well. And I find that it often has to do with leadership, talent, and execution versus having the latest talent stack necessarily. You need to have both in harmony. So how far away from me are we from this right now? I think it depends on the organization and on the team. Actually, even at a more micro level, like on each team within or each organization, you can find people who are doing the strategic talent advisement really, really well. You can find other hiring organizations where they have no hiring threshold for recruitment or talent acquisition. They just want to hire people to manage a process. And you can do that from kids coming right out of college, or anybody without the right tools or enablement to do that effectively. So it runs the gamut. Now AI fits into that because it's going to bring more people, it's going to give people more space to get to a place where they're adding the right kind of value for candidates and for hiring teams and for organizations. Some organizations are already kind of ready for that, right? They have strategic people doing the right things, having the right conversations. But even when those people exist on your team, they don't have the space to do it. And this is what AI is promising to do, right? Is provide this space to do the things that we should really be doing to add the maximum amount of value. So There are, it runs the gamut across our customer base that we see. We have people who are totally ready. And I think like when you're enabling AI, you're expecting it to um, kind of add to what they already have. And then you have others that are looking for it to replace what they have. And that is where you might run into a little bit of trouble. So that's kind of an observation that, I have up until this point.
I think one of the things that I'm also seeing with so much AI and AI enabled and AI first products on the market at the moment, there's a temptation to reduce recruiting to its kind of constituent steps, and then AI each one of those in turn, which to me just seems to potentially making things even more complex rather than sort of adding value and making things better. Where does
Yeah.
AI truly add value to the hiring process? And, what's just adding more complexity to an already
Yeah.
complex situation?
Yeah, good question. I mean, I think so. The AI products that are out there, you know, they're all looking to solve different problems within your hiring process, right? So it could be scheduling interviews or sorting through the thousands of applications and resumes you get on a daily basis, or it could be something more assessment related. You need to start small and make sure that your recruitment process is in a place that it can handle it. You've identified where the opportunity or a bottleneck or, a non-value added thing is happening in your recruitment process and people are spending a lot of time on it. And you have to be really clear and aligned on what that thing is. And everybody says, yeah, we need help here, right? And then you select the right product that's going to help you overcome that bottleneck in your process. And I would definitely recommend going through that type of analysis and a thorough implementation before you try to AI every piece of your recruitment process, right? Because there could be some things that you're really efficient at and you're really positive and feel good about in your process right now. And just adding AI to every aspect of it isn't necessarily going to make you more effective right away. So you have to be thoughtful, analytical, understand where you have to know what's going on with your recruitment process and be able to pinpoint that and make sure that you're buying products that solve real issues for you or enhance real areas of need within your hiring work.
And digging into that at another level, this is complex stuff. To get the benefits from a kind of a full AI transformation, you kind of have to be in a certain place as an organization. What do you think determines the companies that are really ready, that can really fly with this, get those transformative results? What is it that you kind of look for in an organization to be able to do that?
So if I was going to interview a TA leader and I wanted to try to assess if they were ready for I would start peppering them with some questions about their recruitment process. I would ask them, how many candidates do you need to interview until you get an offer? How long do people stick in each stage of your process? What's your offer conversion rate? Um, what are the hottest job markets right now, and which areas is it most difficult for you to hire? If they have a trouble answering those questions with authority and with accuracy, I would say they're probably not quite ready for AI. Your recruitment process needs to be a perfect mirror of what's happening out in the field and in the market or with your recruiters, with your hiring organization, right? So all of that stuff we talked about before, the blocking and tackling, you need to have insight into that. You need to know what's going on because you're not going to make anything better if you don't have a baseline, you don't know what's going on. So a lot of times we have implementations and SmartRecruiters where people they want to implement a CRM or they want to implement a new cutting edge ATS, but they don't actually know what's going on with their organization right now. So their data is just not telling them what they need to know. So instead of a perfect mirror, it's a little bit more like a funhouse mirror. Data is not there. It's not a reflection of what's happening. If the data is not there and you slap an AI on it, and that AI is drawing off something coming out of a funhouse mirror, you're going to get funhouse results. And like, you're not ready if you have a funhouse mirror coming from your ATS and not really understanding what's going on with your hiring organization. So you've got to get that right. Your system design and all of that supplemental technology that you're using with that AI needs to be right. It needs to be feeding your AI and your leadership the right insights and the right data. And once you have that and you feel like, yes, this system design is a good reflection of our actual business process, you're going to be close to being in a good place to implementing AI. Because if you don't have that, you're putting a really expensive, Band-Aid on and potentially making the wound bigger if it's drawing off of bad data.
I think we also need to recognize that there are lots of TA teams, TA leaders who are under pressure over this. It might be pressure from the top of the organization. We need to implement AI. We need to be more efficient, without any kind of sort of clear instruction about what that means and what that actually entails. And there's obviously a huge amount of conversation in the market, whether it's on LinkedIn or at conferences, where there's a kind of a real pressure that people should be doing AI and doing it right now. What are the sort of telltale signs that you see where someone's just buying something for the sake of it and they haven't really sort of thought through exactly what it's gonna add or take away or transform in their process?
Yeah. I mean, this is another takeaway I've learned through working in HR tech and implementations, but specifics around the problems that you're expecting it to solve, right? If you have a leader that is looking for a TA, a transformational, TA AI person, and they say, we want AI, we want to be the top of the competition. We don't want to lose to any other companies when it comes to finding the best talent. We need to implement AI as soon as possible. You have to be very clear about what technology you're implementing and what problems you expect it to solve or where you expect it to enhance or optimize your recruitment or hiring process, right? Like, you're not overnight going to have a terrible employment brand, a broken recruitment process, untalented or untrained recruiters who don't know what they're doing. You slap, bad data, you slap AI on it, and all of a sudden you are cutting edge, the place where everybody wants to work, and it's easy to find candidates, and you've got amazing hiring outcomes. It just doesn't happen. That goes for any technology because they all promise something like that, right? And AI is super promising, but it's still something that needs to be aligned to people and process. And you need to be very clear on the definition of what problems or what you're trying to solve with it and what it's trying to enhance. It can't just be better at hiring. It just, leaders, business leaders are going to expect you all of a sudden to be, just the most amazing recruitment talent acquisition team ever because you put AI in there. It just doesn't happen that way. You got to be really clear, set the right expectations on timing, impact, where you expect to see improvements, what your stated goals are for the improvements that AI is going to bring. And you'll be able to see some real results, but it's probably going to be more incremental than people, who aren't in TA and haven't seen this before would expect.
And on that theme, I think we both know from our experience
Yeah.
that the talent acquisition doesn't transform overnight. I think we can safely say that AI is probably the fastest moving technical innovation that we've probably ever seen. But even if talent acquisition moves faster than it's ever moved before, it's still not going to keep up with that, really. So it probably means that you're talking to lots of employers who are at lots of different stages of this journey. I mean, as a vendor, how do you meet them where they are and help them with that transformation wherever they might be kind of on that continuum?
Yeah. So we have a consulting tool that we use as SmartRecruiters, and I mean, there is it's a lot of different companies will, consulting firms will have something like this, but it's really important that you identify what you're trying to do, like, really clearly. Like, what you're not going to boil the ocean with this implementation. You're not going to bring this technology on and all of a sudden every problem, every ill that you've ever had is resolved. You need to be able to do some kind of assessment as to where you need to improve the most. So it's bringing in the talent leaders. Some of them might be HRIS professionals, some might be actual talent acquisition practitioners. There could be HR people, there could be business leaders. These folks need to become aligned on where their biggest concerns are with how they sit today in their hiring organization and where they need to go based on business goals. Like, okay, this is the direction we're going. Here's our gap right now. What tools or tool is going to help recruitment get there so we can achieve our business goals, right? Like, and it can't just be, we need to be better at hiring. You got to figure out what you need to do. our recruiters spend too much time doing XYZ. Our employment brand isn't strong enough. We're not getting enough talent. We don't get enough inbound. We don't spend, we're terrible at assessing talent. Our turnover is awful. It takes us too long to get people all the way from point A all the way to point Z. There are so many different diagnoses that you can have, and you need to go through that diagnosis before you can bring something on. So it's going to take time. It's going to be a little bit slow. But I think at the end of the day, you need to have alignment on what those areas are, and then select, timing and tools and the timing based on the alignment of where you need to go. So
It's a massive change management exercise for everyone here. What would your advice be to employers around that? What do they need to be thinking of when it comes down to the practicalities of change management to get this kind of adoption, an AI transformation?
yeah, I got to tell you, with change management, it's a funny thing. I mean, I've been through so many courses and so many consulting sessions and have spoken with so many experts in change management over the years. And after all of those hours of doing those things, I started to believe that people just don't listen. So, like, the more emails you send to give people warning that something is changing and something is coming, and you have to get ready, and look at this material, look at that, read this, listen to that, watch this video, and then you roll it out, and the same thing, the same thing. You go through a little bit of pain, right? And so, what I found, that works is involving as many people as you can so they have an ownership of it. And they felt like, because they have representation that do the thing and understand how it works and understand what problem it's trying to solve and what it doesn't solve, right? And why it's impactful to each one of them throughout the organization. You can't just tell them it's going to be impactful. You can't tell them to press buttons and to watch something and to expect it to work. You need to actually involve and get stakeholders, people who might not even be directly responsible for the technology. They need to know why it matters to them. And it will not matter if you tell them it matters. They need to see it. Involve your business, involve stakeholders in any decision that you make that's going to impact them, because they're the ones that can go to their teams in team meetings and say, "Hey guys, I want you to try this. I want you to look at by the end of the day, by the end of the week, let's have, set some goals on how we're going to interface with this product, et cetera, et cetera." But the organizational wide change management initiatives, I've seen marginal success with those things. You have to be a little bit guerrilla with it and get people involved early and often.
I just want to talk a bit more about data, because you sort of mentioned the real sense that people have to understand what's going on and have the right data and
Yeah.
that sort of stuff. AI is quite revolutionary in terms of how people can look at interpret data. Do you think it's going to change the way that talent acquisition thinks about and uses data?
Yeah, I think it's going to shine a huge spotlight on it. I mean, even a bigger one that's already there, because the more we rely on AI to guide us through to an outcome, which is like, in this case, hiring a successful candidate for a job, um, the more data it's going to need access to do the things it needs to do to be effective, right? I think we're just scratching the surface right now. I don't think we're there yet. But I mean, just a quick anecdote. Like, I remember when I first got access to Chat GPT. I'm a baseball fan. I grew up in Minnesota. I'm a Twins fan. I asked it a question about the 1991 World Series.
Yeah.
And it told me that the Braves beat the Twins in the 1991 World Series. And I mean, honestly, I considered never using it again after that, because I just thought, how unreliable is this?
Yeah.
It was drawing on it. It probably got its data from an Atlanta Braves fan site. I don't know, but it was wrong. It was dead wrong. And I know there's still, some hallucinations and things like that. But obviously, the advice, particularly when it comes to making hiring decisions and how to guide, recruiters or candidates or anything through a process, is going to be super dependent on the accuracy of the data. And you've got to get that right before you start relying on any kind of advanced technology to represent your hiring process, represent your recruiters, represent your candidates. Um, Otherwise, if people lose confidence in that, you're going to have a long road ahead, and it's going to be another HR technology failed investment. So I just think that is, I mean, honestly, implementing AI, I would almost run it like a full-on like data audit to make sure that you feel really good about what's happening out there with your recruitment teams. and that you have a good, accurate recording of what's happening out there, so that once you connect AI to whichever aspect of your process, you can feel good about what it's drawing upon, what it's recommending, what it's telling you to do, what it's telling candidates to do, um, and so you can get the outcome you want.
Final question for you. What does the future look like? Do you think that this is going to be a really disruptive change? Is it going to be a gradual change? What do the next few years look like?
Oh, you're asking me to be Dave Stradamus here a little bit, huh? So it's hard to predict the future. And usually, being the pragmatic person that I am, I will evaluate the past to try to predict future. And where we are today from a HR and recruitment technology perspective is actually quite far ahead of where we were 10 or 15 years ago. But I don't think we can point to one single time where we said, wow, that was the monumental shift that we were all waiting for. Where we are today is much different than we were, 20 years ago, but it happened kind of without noticing, slowly and gradually throughout the year, or throughout the years rather. I think, this piece of technology, everybody's bracing for this to be something totally different, on a totally different plane than any other technology that we've had. And I don't know what the future's going to hold. But based on what I've seen, I think it's going to be similar to how it's been, but accelerated. So it'll be, 5 years from now, we'll look back to 2025 and we'll go, oh wow, we are light years ahead of 2025. And I think there's going to be some much bigger chunks of change and transformation happening because of the nature of how quickly the technology is evolving. So historically, recruitment, HR, talent has been a little bit behind many other sorts of services and industries when it comes to technology adoption and implementation, things like that. I think we probably expect that to continue at some level, but I expect our skill sets, and the way that our teams are shaped to be noticeably different 5 years from now, based on the technology. So how we interact with talent, what our role is in the business, and the types of things that we do on a day-to-day basis. I expect to be able to look back 5 years from now and say, remember that when we had to do these things, and this blocking and tackling that our job used to be, it used to entail. I think we'll be able to say, you know, those were crazy times, man. So I expect it will be incremental. It will feel at sometimes a little bit plodding, but I think it's going to move a lot faster. That's just my best guess. I think it'll take a little bit of history based on how we've done things, but also based on this technology and how fast it's evolving, get us there a little bit faster.
Dave, thank you very much for talking to me.
Been a pleasure. Thanks, Matt.
My thanks to all four of my guests for being so open and honest about their challenges and their experiences building Winston. I think that we can see AI is very, very complicated, but I hope you've learned some really valuable lessons from the conversations that we've had. And I think the most important thing, if you focus on strategy and the value that it's going to bring to your organization, that's how you're going to supercharge your talent acquisition AI transformation.